Okay, we're now in Parshas Shemos. We turned the corner and we finished Sefer Bereshis, which is called Sefer Bria, the book of creation. Then we get into Sefer HaGeula, of the redemption from Egypt, or Sefer HaGolus. And we get to Vayikra, which is called Torah's Kohanim. Then we get to Bamidbar, Sefer Pekudim, where they're mentioned, and Sefer Devarim, which is the Mishnah Torah, repetition of the Torah. So now let us talk about Shemos. Before we do that, on the 25th of December, which is this Shabbos, the Notzrim have the Yom Chagom, their holiday. Oh, before we start, we have to talk about the Torah Anytime $100,000 raffle. Enter now to win a chance to win $100,000. You go on Torah Anytime, you see it right there before you even get to my shir. One ticket costs $100. 2 tickets cost $180. That means $90 a piece. 3 tickets is $250. Means $83 a piece. 7 tickets cost $500, $71. And $1,000 to Torah Anytime gives you 15 tickets, $66.66 to win $100,000. This is heard in 120 countries, and in many languages they have. And the last time you can buy a ticket is January 19th, cutoff date. The drawing is 2 weeks later, February 2nd, for $100,000. There's lesser prizes, but the grand prize is $100,000. First prize, trip to Israel for 4, or $5,000 cash. Second prize, $250 for 20 people. All right, remember, 1 ticket, 2 tickets, 3 tickets, 7 tickets, or 15 tickets. $100 for 1, $90 for 2 each, $83 for 3, $71 for 7, and $66 for 15 tickets. $1,000 for 15 tickets, $66 each. Support Torah Anytime is one of the best medium in the world. There's other mediums, but on video, this is the best. Let's go to Shemos. And before we start, let me tell you, as you know, on the 25th of December is Yom Chagom, the holiday of the Notzrim. What you know about the 25th, what the world is told about the 25th day of December, is the birthday of that man. It's not agreed to by anyone, not even Christians. People think that the birth of JC was on the 25th of December in the year 1 AD, or we call it 1 CE. The reality is that the New Testament gives no date, no year, nothing. 25th was a mathematical error by a Scythian monk. The earliest official Catholic documentation puts Yoshka's birthday on 28th of March. Clement, the Bishop of Alexandria, who died around 215 CE, 1700 years ago, puts it on the 18th of November. Today, the claim by the theologians of the Catholic Church is the 11th of September. So the first thing to note is that no serious Christian theologian agrees that it's the 25th. No one agrees to that. What's the story with the 25th? Because it's brought down to Gemara Avodah Zorah. The holiday pre-Christian was called Saturnalia. Look at Avodah Zorah. That was on the 17th day of December, and 8 days later was the 25th, and 8 days after the 25th is New Year's Eve. It all comes from a medrash of Adam Rishon that they took as a pagan holiday. And Adam noticed when he was made on the first day of Tishrei, which is very close to the autumnal equinox, about 3 months later, which is the 22nd of December, which is around Tekufas Teves, he saw the days were getting shorter and the nights were getting longer, so he figured his chet destroyed the world. Then when it came to the 22nd of December, which is the winter solstice, and he saw the days were getting longer, the shores were getting lighter, so he saw that's the Seder Olam, it's not his fault. So he made a yontif for 8 days, from 25th until what we call the January 1st, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, And then the first day is the 8th day. He made a yontif to thank Hashem. And next year he for 8 days before the winter solstice, which calls Tukufas Teves, he was sad. And then he was happy. These 16 days is what the Christians took as their holiday. It's all based on the Medrash of Adam Marisha, and look up, it's in the Gemara, talks about Saturnalia, Vodazora. Forgot the blot at the end somewhere. And on the 25th day, but due to the calendar, they didn't know how to figure the calendar correctly. They figured the end of the year, they have no way to figure it out. They didn't know how many days were in a year. They thought there was 360 days in a year. They had 10 months with 36 days each, so 10 times 36 is 360. That's right, they had 10 months. That's why our last 12th month is really 10th month. December, Deka is 10. Well, we call it 12. November, which is our 11th, was their 9th. November is 9. And September is 7, it's their 9th month. And November is their 11th month, it's really 9. You see the September, October, November, December, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's really 8, 9, it's really 9, 10, 11, 12. So their year had 10 months of 36 and 360, and 5 at the end of the year was just nothing. No one paid rent, everybody was holiday, they didn't know how to figure it. Then came Julius Caesar, made the Julian calendar, 365 and a quarter day. And that was very nice, but it was a mistake. Until Pope Gregory in 1582 said, no, it's pretty close. 365 and a quarter is pretty close, but it's not 365 and a quarter. It's not 365 and 6 hours, which is a quarter. It's 5 hours and 49 minutes, 11 minutes. You cut off 11 minutes. So after 1300 years, 11 minutes added up to 10 days. Because every day is 24 hours times 60 minutes is 1440, and after 10 days is 14,400, and that's how much the 13 years added up, 1,300 years times 11. So the Pope Gregory knocked it off, made March 5, became March 15. They knocked it off, and now the calendar is very, 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 very accurate. I don't know, 26 seconds a century or a year or something, and it'll take 3,000 years to be off by an hour or something, or something like that. Look it up. You can Google it. The Gregorian calendar. And the Jewish calendar is far more accurate than that. That was given thousands of years ago. We're down to a nanosecond every year. We're off. Because it was given from Shemayim. Anyhow, they used this 25th day of December because of misunderstood Medrash, and they made it into a holiday, and there was the last 5 days of uncontrolled wildness and drunkenness, and the shmut, the worst kind of Agila Rayas. The Americans who founded this country, the later Puritans, the founders of America, were completely opposed to the celebration of Xmas. Anyone who celebrated Xmas was put in jail in the year 1659, in the colonies here, 1659 to 1681. 1466, Pope Paul, for the amusement of his Roman citizen, arranged for the events of Saturnalia on the 25th day of December, to include forcing Jews to run naked through the city. Yamach Shemom V'Zichron. An eyewitness report from a Christian who was present at the festivities, who accounted that before the Jews ran, they were richly fed to make the race much more difficult for them, and much more amusing for the spectators. The Pope himself laughed heartily. 18th and 19th century, that's getting up to our time. Rome, the rabbis were forced to wear funny, clownish outfits, three-quarter hats, march through the streets to the jeers of the crowd that pelted them they threw things at them. In 1836, the Jewish community of Rome sent a petition to Pope Gregory. It's only 170 years ago. Only 170 years ago. The Jewish community of Rome sent a petition to Pope Gregory the 16th, begging him to stop the Saturnalia festivities of the 25th of December. He said, no, it's not opportune to make any innovations now. That's what he did, Yamach Shemom. In 1881, the December 25th, Christian leaders whipped up the masses into anti-Semitic frenzies. Now it gets to Xmas tree. Xmas tree had nothing to do with Christians, nothing to do with Romans, nothing to do with... It was a Near East Asherah cult. They worshipped the Asherah, that pine tree. And they wanted to get these people in the Middle and the Near East, like Turkey, into their religion. So they said, bring in your Xmas tree. Mistletoe. That's a poisonous, toxic plant. And some god killed the other god with a plant, and they incorporated that into Christianity too. Xmas presents. What about that? In early pagan Rome, emperors insisted that the Jewish community bring offerings to the emperors on 25th of December. They were forced to give them presents on pain of death. Whole shalos and shuvas about that. And look in Gemara Avodah Zarah there. When can you give a gift to a guy? And then you got this idea of Saint Nicholas. And Saint Nicholas is really had a Dutch name, Santa Claus. It goes back from 1087. Santa Claus has nothing to do with Christianity. Eventually, they took this man Nicholas and they sainted him, and they brought him into the Catholic religion. And the groups had previously worshipped a god by the name of Woden, W-O-D-E-N. That's how we get Wednesday. And the father of Thor, that's how we get Thursday. So every decent Christian calendar will tell you December 6th is St. Nicholas Day. And St. Nicholas and Santa Claus, same name in Dutch. And then eventually you get to the Santa Claus with the red and white costume. That's because of Coca-Cola Company in 1931. In 1931, Coca-Cola Corporation was in financial straits. They were losing a lot of money because the government forced them to remove cocaine from the Coke. So they needed some advertising boost. So they hired a very famous Swedish artist called Hayden Sundblom to create a Coke drinking Santa. Sundblom modeled his Santa on a friend who was heavy, overweight, cheerful, chubby, red-faced. Coca-Cola Corporation insisted, however, that the suit had to be bright Coca-Cola red. Coca-Cola, not the drink. The bottle had to be red, and it was red. That's why Santa is born. A Roman, pagan, Christian, Turkish, Italian bishop eventually dressed up in Coca-Cola red. Could you imagine how this goes? If you want to hear all this, go to Rabbi Kellerman, www.simple, S-I-M-P-L-E, T-O-R-E, member.com. All right? www.simple, T-O-R-E, member.com. And /Xmas story. Let's go to Shemos. Ve'elu Shemos b'nei Yisrael haboyim Mitzrayim eis Yaakov isha beisu bo'u. Ve'elu Shemos b'nei Yisrael. Every letter of these words tells you a word. This is Rosh Tevis, acrostic. It says Vav Aleph Lamed Hey, and these are the names of the Yisrael that came to Mitzrayim. Eis Yaakov, with Yaakov. Isha beisu bo'u. Every man with his family came. You know what the letters stand for? Says the Balatur. Vav Aleph Lamed Hey, V'chayev Adam Lahavar Hasedra. Man's obligated to repeat the Sedra. Shemos, Shnayim Mikro Ve'echod Targum. B'nei, B'nigun No'im Yosef. Beautiful trot. The tam and the nigun got to be correct. Yisrael. If you do that, Yichye Shonim Rabus Aruchos La'olam. You live a long life. Isn't that a marvelous thing that we the minhag of Shnai Mikov Echad Targum to repeat every pasuk before you get to Shabbos, and then say the Targum. You don't understand the Targum. You say it in English. That's brought here in Shemos. There's only one question: if it's such a big mitzvah to be Maver the Sedra every day before you get to Shabbos, and you should do every day one section, like Sunday, Rishon, Monday, Sheni, Tuesday, Shlishi, so on, like I do on Kol Haloshan. Every day I learn. That's Eliyah. Monday, Rishon, Friday, Shishi. Motzi Shabbos I learn Shvi. Friday, Shishi. So, it's not interesting. It's very nice. Why don't you tell me the beginning of the Torah, in Bereshis, when you have to be Ma'aser from the first pasuk in the Torah? Answer. This is brought here by the Baal HaTurim because it's the same subject. Here it says, Ve'elu Shemos b'nei Yisrael. This is a repetition of the names of b'nei Yisrael. We just mentioned them in the last Parsha last week. V'yigash v'yichi. Why do you mention it again? Repetition, because God loves b'nei Yisrael. Like it says in Rashi. Good, repetition. And we talk about Ma'aser Seder, which is repetition. Isn't that wonderful? It says that Jews were let out of Mitzrayim because they didn't change three things: their names, their clothes, and their language. Shmom, Malbusham, and Lishonam. Where do you see that in the pasuk? Shmom. Eile Shemos. These are the names of Bnei Yisrael, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Therefore, don't change your name if you want to stay Jewish. Don't call yourself a Goyish name. Call yourself a Jewish name. Big problem. Why is women's name sometimes in Yiddish not Jewish names at all? Like Fegele, Sprinze, Yente. It's not Jewish names. And why is one of their Lada Tanoim have Goyish names? Like in Pirkei Avos, Antignos, Ish Soko. You couldn't have a more Greek name than that. Abai and Rav is not Hebrew. Papai Omer. Papai. Right, Papus Omer. And Zoroyim. Rabbeinu Albert. No, you couldn't get more Goyish than that. So what does it mean here? You have to have Jewish names? Yosef says, my name was changed by Pharaoh. Sofnas Paneach, but I have no control over that. But don't change your names. So how do you get around this? Besides, there's no halach in Shulchan Aruch anywhere that you have to have a Jewish name. It's nice to have a Jewish name, but you don't have to. Tanoim had Goyish names. Amoraim. Before we answer that, let's go to the second thing. You have to have Malbu. And where do you see Shemos? Right here. Eile Shemos B'nai Yisrael. Malbusham. Where do you get Malbush? It says here you have to have Jewish Malbush. Where do you see that here? And it says you have to speak a Jewish language. Well, Sadigan wrote his stuff in Arabic, and Rambam wrote some of his stuff in Arabic, and Hirsch writes it in German, and the Gemara is not written in Hebrew, and Targum is not in Hebrew. So why you have to have only in Hebrew language? And where in Shulchan Aruch does it say anywhere that Jews have to have different clothing? Where does it say that? You want to wear special Jewish clothing? That's not in Shulchan Aruch. That's made up. Very nice. It keeps you, protects you from going, not to assimilate, not to mix with them. Very good. But where do you have to have different clothing? You can wear regular clothing as long as you check it for shotness. You don't have to have Jewish clothing. No way. There's no such thing. Not in the Shulchan Aruch. You don't need a malbush that Jewish. Moshe Rabbeinu wore Goyish clothes because the daughters of Pharaoh said, "Ish Mitzri Hatzilenu," saved us. So he was wearing Goyish clothes, and he's pretty for man. And so, why do we have to? Why you say that they didn't change three things? The Shonam, who said you have to speak Hebrew only, who said? And Malbush, who said you got to have Jewish clothes. We're saying Shulchan Aruch. And where does it say you have to have Jewish names? So the Mashal in this Gemara says that's only a mashal. Shemam means you're always Shomer Shabbos. Because when you meet a Jew who's not so religious, but he's starting to be religious, the first thing you ask your friend about him, not does he wear shatnez, or does he wear payas, or does he daven with Bein Tam or regular film? No. First question, is he Shomer Shabbos? Means your name. Are you a Shomer Shabbos Jew? Do you agree that God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh? If not, you're an atheist. You may say you're a believer, but you're not, because you don't follow what he told you to do. And in Torah, not keeping Shabbos is Chaim Miso. So when you say, I believe in God, that's cheap talk. Like the person said, I went through medical school. I said, but you're a car mechanic. I went through medical school. When? Well, I used to deliver bread there. I went into the front door and added to the back, I gave out the back door. Went through medical school, yeah. Hello. It's not true. When they say, I believe in God, that means you believe what God said, or that he's out there, but he doesn't touch your private life. Oh, does he control your life with 613 mitzvahs? And about 50,000 pratim? Well, each one of the 613 has 613 pratim, you know that? It's about, 700,000 dinam. So it's 613 squared. I think tremendous amount of dinam. Look here, some Masechtas are built on one mitzvah, Yevamos on one mitzvah. Menachas on one carbon mincha. Can you imagine? So, what means, so the Marshal says, Shmon, the name is Shomer Shabbos. Malbush, means bris milah. What kind of clothes do you have? What mark is on your body? That's bris. And lashonam, your language is, do you still pray to God? That's the three things that when we learn Mal Medrashim, you have to know how to learn them. We looked at the Marshal and these other masters of Midrash. Because you see, there's no halach in Shulchan Aruch to do this, so it must mean something. Yes, it's very nice to wear Jewish clothes, not to wear wild clothes like they're going and have a check for Shabbos, and conservative, very good. And to have a Jewish name instead of Charlie and Harry, you call yourself Chaim and David and Shlomo. We don't know that. And you should speak Lashon HaKodesh. And Yiddish is not Lashon HaKodesh. It's German from the Middle Ages. Futer and Foter is the same. Was and was is the same. So don't let anyone fool you that that is a Jewish language. It's the language that Jews speak. And it became very choshev today in the Torah world because Fry Jews don't speak it. That's the way we unify ourselves in the Torah Olam. We speak Yiddish because the Fry Jews don't speak it. They want to be assimilated as much as they can. We want to be unassimilated. We want to concentrate on the old time values, so we speak Yiddish. And there's no kedusha in it. It's chashivas, yes. There's no kedusha in it, but it's not Lashon HaKodesh. So where do you see in this pasuk some of the things I just told you? Look. Yisrael Haboyim. The first and last letters is Yud, Lamed, Hey, Mem. That's Milah. Right? Mem, Yud, Lamed, Hey, Milah. Eis, Yaakov, Ish. The last letters is Shabbos. And where do you get Tefillah, Tehillim? You have it like this. The Shemos, B'nei Yisrael, Haboyim, Mitzrayim. The last letters is HaTehillim. When you pray to God, you not only daven, you say Tehillim. The idea, when you're in Torah, you take out a Tehillim. So the soft tables of the Shemos, B'nei Yisrael, Haboyim, Mitzrayim is HaTehillim. So you have Malbushim, which is Milah, the first and last letters of Yisrael, Haboyim. And Shabbos is where you get Shabbos. Shemos b'nei Yisrael, Rosh Hashanah, Shin Beivsov, Shabbos. Shemos b'nei Yisrael. Everything's in the pasuk. Everything's here. The biggest secrets of the Torah, the old Midrashim, are all written in these letters. Every single letter has a value and a gematria and this and that. It's the deepest thing in the world. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zevulun, Binyamin, Dan, Ben Naphtali, Gad, V'Asher. He called Nefesh. Why not call Nafshos? Because they're united with one idea, one agenda, one God, one idea, one concept. They were still united. Elish called Nefesh. By Yosef it says Nifashos, because each one of them was out for themselves. Wicked people are out for themselves. A unified nation is out for one purpose. Yikol Nefesh Yosef Yerech Yaakov Shivim Nefesh 70. Why don't you Shivim Nefashos? The same reason. Shivim Nefesh. Yosef Hayim Mitzrayim. Yosef was in Mitzrayim already. Yosef Yamas Yosef Echad B'chol Adorahu, and Yosef died, and all his brothers and his whole generation. B'nei Yisrael Paru, they were fruitful, very. Yishutsu, they were like insects, shrutzim. Yirbu, they increased. Yatsmu, they got bigger. Powerful, Exem means bony, strong, but ma'od, very much, 6 expressions of reproduction. From this we learn, that's remez, that every woman had Shisha Bekeres Echad, 6 children with each litter. She gave birth every year for 3 years, she had 18 children. And polygamy was not forbidden. You had 2 wives, you had 36 children in 3 years. You had 12 in 1 year. If you had 2 wives, then you had 3 wives, you had 18 in 1 year. We got a Bamba Kasha here. I got a Bamba Kasha that is, I think I came up with an interesting answer. Eilish Mos B'nei Yisrael Haboyim. Look at any Chumash you want. Hirsch, Living Torah, Aryeh Kaplan, Art Scroll, Rashi Chumash, any Chumash you want. It's every one of them is mistranslated. Why? Anyone listening to me who knows basic Hebrew, how could you say in English, Eilish Shemos B'nei Yisrael, these are the names of the nations, Haboyim, that came. That's what the English has. And it's just not so. They came would be ha-shebo'u. Ha-bo'im, that is coming. You cannot change Hebrew. You can write anything you want in that translation. It is not correct. Well, Onkelos says, Elin Shemos v'nei Yisrael, the Olu that came. Now, Onkelos knows how to translate. How could he say Olu came? And all the English say came. And it means, in context, true, they came. But the pasuk doesn't say it. Now, how do you get around that brick wall? It does not say that. How do you get around this dilemma? Onkelos says the Olu they came, but the pasuk doesn't say it. Ha-bo'im, how can present tense mean past tense? I'm going to give you an idea that I think is very true. I think it's a good word. They came 71 years ago. Yosef was a pharaoh for 80 years, 40 under Pharaoh and 40 by himself, 80. And they came after he was the king for 10 years already. 2 years of 7 years of plenty and 2 years of hunger. 9 years. Right? 9 years. When after the 2 years of hunger, Yaakov showed up, and so out of Yosef's 80 years, they came, and when Yosef died, it was after the 80 years, when he was 110 years old, but it was only 71 years. They were there in Mitzrayim. How do you say, ha-bo'im, that are coming, when they came 71 years ago? How could both of these explanations be right? They came is 100% correct. But the pasuk says, but coming. The Saperstein Chumash has corrected it, by the way. If you get the new last year or two, they corrected it on the interlinear, I saw it. I guess maybe in the other Chumash too. Because it's just not right. But you have to explain how could present mean past and past mean present. What is this? 2 times 2 is 4 and 2 times 2 is 7? Ah, come on. One or the other. Listen to my parish. These people who came 71 years ago, they didn't increase like Shrotzim, only when they started beating them. Kashayanu ken yirbu, the more they beat them, the more they increased. They didn't beat him in the beginning. While Yosef was a king, they didn't beat him. Yosef took up the first 92 years of the 210, because when Yaakov sent him down to Mitzrayim, he was 12 years in jail, and then 9 years as a king before the brothers came. That's 22 years. From the 210, 188 is left. So 92 years of the 210 was Geirus. They were not in their own country. They weren't mistreated. And then, then they had to work. They were paid for the next 32 years till Levi died. He was the last. After 92 and 32 were over, there was 118 years left. No, before Levi died, after 92, there was 118 years left. Then when Levi died, 32 years after Yosef, there was 86 years left. That's Miriam, 86 years old. She was born in the beginning of the beating period. That's why her name was Miriam Mar. When she got out, she was 86. Those last 86 years, that's what we're talking about right here. The king of Pharaoh says, we got to do something about these people. They're all over the place. I mean, they're like Shrotzim, where they take the doctors, the lawyers, they run the businesses. They were Mitsuyonim, they were the best and the smartest and the most powerful. They're taking over the country. That's why the Parshas starts. We got to do something about this. So this was at the last 86 years. Now, Eile Shemos b'nei Yisrael, these are names of nations, Haboyim, who are now coming out after 71 years by the hordes. They're coming out by the hordes, 6 Bekeres Echad, because they trusted Yaakov 71 years ago, or more, 71 years ago, and then 32, 100 years ago, and there was only about 86 years left. Eilish Mos B'nei Haboyim that are now coming out by the hordes. It says here, part of Yishutzu, because they came 71 years ago, only because they came are they now coming out in hordes. Here's the name, Reuben Shiva Levi, who the was done of Doli, God of Hashem, Chin Evish Kol Yosef Yaakov 70. Yomas Yosef Kol Doech L'Chol Adorahu, B'nei Yisrael now Paru, Vayishvutzu, Vayirbu, V'yatzmu, V'ma'od. Now they're really swarming. Now, 71 years later, not the beginning, because they can't swarm because they weren't beating them. Only when they beat them, they swarm. Kashiyanu Kayirbu. That's what it means. These are the B'nai Yisrael. I wouldn't translate it. If I wrote a Chumash, I wouldn't say came. I will say these are the Jews that are coming out now by the hordes because they came with Yaakov 71 years ago. Because some people, it says there in the Midrashim, some didn't want to go with Yaakov. The women didn't want to go, the men agreed. There's a whole Midrashim about this, but they all went, some grudgingly. That answers that question. Vayokom melech chodesh al Mitzrayim. A new king got up on Mitzrayim. Asher lo yoda es Yosef. He didn't know Yosef. Can you imagine the greatest pharaoh that ever lived was Yosef, who stopped miraculously a hunger? And you don't know about him? You think there's any president of the United States, who ever was or will be, that doesn't know about George Washington, the first president? Could it be? So Rashi says, of course not. You may believe he didn't know Yosef. He changed the rules of the game. Some says he was mamash a melech chodesh, a brand new king. Hirsch explains he was an outside invading king who controlled the Egyptians. He did not know of Yosef. He was an outside. That's why it says, Vayokom melech chodesh al Mitzrayim. He overpowered the Egyptians. Like Chaim, Vayokom Chaim al Achab, on top of his brother. He killed him. Vayokom means an invader that enslaves the locals, and you got to use something to get everybody together. Achdus. So let's make the Jews a scapegoat. That's how you make achdus all the time, by picking one example, one nebuch, and everybody gets united together. Yochel Melamo says to the people, Hine am rov, there are many of them. They're powerful, but you have multiple births, 6 at one time. The second and the third and the fourth and the fifth are weaker and smaller. Here, everyone was bigger and stronger. This is phenomenal. And the sixth one was as strong as the first one. They're robbed. There are plenty of them. They're like, says shrutzim, like insects. They're everywhere. Rav Atzum, and they're more powerful than we are. Smarter, better. Hova, let us nischak malo, and outsmart him. Him should say them. No, the God of the Jews. Because he said, and they knew the Pesukim, God will never destroy the world with fire. So therefore don't burn them in fire. The girl, they'll never, Chveis was to destroy the world with air, with wind or something, tornado. So let's kill them with wind or something. But he said, but God said he will never destroy the world with water. So let's kill them in water, drown them. So they put the firstborn in the river. But the Rashi tells you, God said, I will not bring water on destroy the world, but I'll bring water could bring water to destroy one country. Or I could bring that one country to the water, which he did. Hava, let us outsmart him, the God of the Jews, so he can't punish us. Hava, hey bays, hey, 12. Let's outsmart the God who created the 12 constellations and who created the 12 Shvatim. Let us outsmart him. When a nation is desperate, he wants to use strategy that he thinks God never thought of. Pen Yirba, lest they become too many. When the war will come, who else he will add to our enemies. He'll be the inside traders, the fifth columnists, and attach himself to the invader, and he'll take over the country. The Jews will take over their country. He'll fight with us. But all lost. Somebody has to leave this country. They didn't want to say us. We'll lose our country. But all the men we have to leave this country. They're going to take over the Jews. That was the same thing in Europe, in Germany. That for 150 years, the Jews there, the assimilated, traitorous, intellectual, highly educated Jews, were the greatest in theater and arts and everything. They were afraid that the entire German culture was controlled by the Jewish brain, starting with Mendelssohn. The greatest thinkers and scientists and orators, speakers, and poets were Jews. What's his name there? Mendelssohn beat Heine and Schiller and Goethe. He was the greatest mind. They were being Judified. Hitler saw that. He says, let's get rid of them. Let's outsmart them. They're going to take over this country. Because with the Jewish genius, when the ghetto walls collapsed at the end of 1700, this was when Mendelssohn started, 1775. He saw the Jewish brain going to take over this country. And Germany was a highly educated country. And that was the perfect place for intellectuals like the Jews, the most assimilated, most educated Jew, the reformed Jew. He understood that Hitler, he's going to take away our country. read the books on German Jewry, the assimilated Jewry. They were the biggest brains that could be. There's a book called The German Jew, written in 1933, right before Hitler. They were afraid, Germany, of losing the country to the Jews because they were the most brilliant in any field. That's how smart they're taking over our country, Father says. Yosima loved Sari Misim, so they started to work him, like the Germans did, put him to work. Sari Misim, masters of tax, work, tax enforcers. The man knows to torture them in their labor. They won't think about going to coffee clubs and discussing deep ideas and philosophies and ideas. To be overworked. They built Ari Miskanos to Pharaoh. They built cities of warehouses to Pharaoh, as Pisum and Ramses. They didn't really want Pisum and Ramses. It collapsed right when they built it. They just want to break the Jewish spirit. The Kashayanos or Cain Yubum. And more they beat them, the more they increase. You know what Pharaoh says? He says, we better get rid of them because Pen Yirba, they will increase. Hashem said, Cain Yirba, they certainly will increase. The more you beat them, the more they increase. Like a worm, you cut it in half, there's two worms. Certain insects, certain animals, you cut them, they multiply. But Cain Yifros in those days, and they were increased and they spread out all over the place. And they were disgusted with their own life against the Bnei Yisrael. The Goyim felt uncomfortable, just like the Germans. But the Jews were the most brilliant minds, the richest people, the bankers, everything. And enslaved the Jewish Israel before with back-breaking works. They insulted them while they're working. Perach, first they were knife, and then they cursed them out. You know how the Germans used to scream at them, yell at them, break their spirit. When you scream at somebody, you intimidate them. Isn't that the way the American Indians used to attack the white folks, by screaming loud before they attack? That's the way you intimidate your foe. The Yamaris Chaim, and increased bitter their lives. Babo the kosher for heavy work. The Chomer making clay bricks. Obil Vainim, mud, make fine clay, and they made bricks out of it. Bil Vainim making the bricks. The Cholavodim Basada, all other agriculture work. As Cholavodos of the Bavarach, and all their work they did with back-breaking severity. You see the trop, the nigun on Vayimorus Chayem is Vayimorus Chayem Kadmo V'Yazlo. That's the name of the trop, the nigun. Do you know something? They were supposed to be in Mitzrayim 400 years. But since they worked them day and night, Vayimorus Chayem, embittered their lives, Kadmo V'Azlo is Gematria 190. Shem took off 190 from 400, only 210 is left. Says the Rogature, go on, Dechet Tzadi Kodesh Brocha. Rogature. Kadma V'Azlo is Gematria 190. They took off 190 from 400, made it 210. Yemorus Chayim Bavoda Kosher B'Chom B'Levain Chol Avoda B'Soda. It's called Avodosam. All their labor She'Avdu B'Hem B'Forach, back-breaking work. But Yom Melech Mitzrayim. So the Melech Mitzrayim told two Gentile women. He thought they were Gentile women. The Yaldos Ivrios, women that give birth to little Jewish children. The Goyish midwives. Sheshem Achas Shifra. One was called Shifra. One was Shemos was called Puwa. Really, Chazal tell us that he didn't know they were undercover agents. They were really Yocheved, a charming woman of 130, by the way, the mother of Moshe, the wife of the Gadol Hadar, and her daughter Miriam, 6 years old, to kill Jewish children. When you give birth to the Jewish women, you see him on the footstool, on the birthing school, in Ben-Hu. If it's a boy, you can see, it comes out half, you can see it's a boy. Bamita knows him, kill him. You know what that's called? Partial birth abortion. In Basi B'chai, let her live because she will never marry you. Jews are so loyal, so holy, they'll never marry a Goyish man. This is how we wipe out the Jewish people. Hoav Noyim. Why don't you use the word for birth stool, Mishber? Hoav Noyim is a hint that they had 6 at one time. How do you know? Hey Aleph, Beis Nun Yud Mem. Hey Aleph, 5 and 1 is 6. The next 4 letters is Bonim. 6 Bonim. Isn't that interesting? And the Miyaldus feared God, because even Yosef, when he was a Pharaoh, he told his brothers before he was Yosef, he told him Yosef, he says, I fear God. Didn't Abraham tell Pharaoh hundreds of years before, why did you lie? Pharaoh said, why did you lie? Say the woman is your sister. He says, I saw there was no years till the Kim in this place. So the guys have to have fear of Elohim. Everybody believes in God. They believe in other idols too, but they all believe in Elohim. I saw there's no fear of God here. Because these Goyish women, they thought they were Goyish women, they feared God. And they didn't want to do what the Pharaoh said. Lo also kashadiva aleihem, what the Pharaoh said upon them. Why not lohem to them? Because Pharaoh solicited them for arayos. Lohem, to come upon them. They kept the children alive, not only at birth, they fed them afterwards. Now, these were undercover agents called, he didn't know. They looked and dressed and acted like shiksas, like goyim, and they did this on purpose to get into Pharaoh's inner circles to find out what's the plans with this killing of Jewish children called infanticide. And they heard everything. They could warn their brothers. They were undercover agents. That's my chiddush. And I told him my father's Zatzal 25 years ago. And he said, let me think about that if it's a good idea. Next day he called up. He said, it's a good idea, undercover agents. And I found it in a Medrash Tadshe, your question and your answer. It's going in my Sefer. If you look at my Beis Sheva and Shemos, the second piece is my piece. That's the only piece I have in there. My brother Meir has 2 pieces. One on Purim, one on something else. So, they were undercover agents, acted like Goyish women. These 2 women were the ministers of infanticide or birthing, whatever. They were the head of the whole thing, and they would. He didn't. He thought they were. He would have killed. They would have killed them right away. He thought they were going who had fear to do what God says, and he thought they were going. That's how just good disguise they were. They acted in just like Goyish women, and they were Jews. That's the undercover agents they were. The Yikra Melch Mitzrayim and the Aldus, the Yomer had said to them, Madu Asisim as the Dover said, what do you do this for? Keeping them and keeping them alive. The numbers are not going down. That's number 1. And number 2, but the Chayenos, a lot of you feed them afterwards. But Tamarna Hamiyaldus El Paro, they said to Paro, Kilo, Kanoshim, Hamitzrios, Oiviyos. The Jewish women are not like, the Hebrew women are not like Gentile women. Kichayus handle, they're very energetic, they don't need us. By the time you get there, it's over. Like Chayus. Chayus don't need a midwife, they deliver their own children. Before he come aleihem to them, they give their own children. They don't need us. They're very energetic. That's one parish. You know what a Medrash says about this? These Jewish women are like chayos, like animals. My chayos. Ilay chayos mamish. If you want to say they're like animals. Oh, here means Chayo means a midwife. They're like midwives themselves. They don't need me, us midwives. Each one of the women are midwives. Chayos, they are midwives. My Chayos, just like Chayos, Ilay Chayos mamish, real midwives. Does one midwife not need another midwife to help her? Of course. They do, so it's really not a good answer. Elo Omra, though, he said to him, they couldn't have said that. They couldn't have said that to Pharaoh, because a midwife needs another midwife, and what do you mean they deliver themselves? Come on, a midwife needs another midwife to help with deliver. Elo Omru Lo, you know what he really told them? Umazu, this nation, Kechayim, they're like animals. Doesn't it say Yehuda, Gur Aryeh? A young, old lion. Dan doesn't say Dan, Yehi Nachash is like a snake. Naphtali doesn't say it's Ayola Shlucha, a fast deer. Yisachar doesn't say Chamor Garem, like a donkey, a bony donkey. Yosef doesn't say Bachar Shar, he is a firstborn bull. Binyamin doesn't say it's a Yip crop, like a bear, like a wolf, he tears you apart. Kasivbe, About those 6 Shvatim where it talks about it, it talks about it. What about the other 6? It doesn't compare them to animals. But what about the 6 that doesn't talk about that? Reuben's not an animal. Shimon, Levi. It says in Yechezkel, Yutes, my imcho Levio, just like your mother, talking to the Jewish people, is a lion, Levio, one of the 7 names for lion. Ben Arroyo Zerovsa, she lies amongst the wild animals, the wild lions. So the mother is a Levio. All the Jewish people's mothers are Levio, which means the Jewish people are very energetic. Wherever they go, they're successful, and they're very aggressive, and they take care of stuff, as you see in every country, wherever the Jews are. They get to the top. If you just leave them alone. Okay, Rabbi side, we are coming to the end of our shir, and go to that website. You all find out about Xmas, and some don't want to say the first word for Xmas, because it's the man's name, and definitely J-E you're not allowed to say. It's a deraisa. You're not allowed to even cause a guy to say it, because you're not allowed, a guy is usher to believe in Avodah Zarah. La yishama al picha, the Torah said, don't let it be heard on your mouth, which means you can't even have a guy say it. That's why you shouldn't have a guy as your partner, because when he goes to court, you'll swear at your God, he'll swear at his God. You can't have that. Avodah Zarah is usher for all human beings. Mm-hmm. They don't have to be Jews, but they have to keep the Shem Mitzvah B'nai Noach. There's only one God creator in the world, period. So, you can't write that word J-E. You say Oso, Ish, the Notzri, J-C. It's not nice to make disparaging names about him, because somebody will hear it and feel insulted, and you'll suffer for that. You have respect for their religion, let them believe in it. As long as they don't force us to believe in it. It's good that if a Gentile believes in something rather than nothing. That's much worse. So go to Rabbi Kellerman, www.simple, S-I-M-P-L-E, T-O-R-E, member.com, and you'll see the whole 39-minute speech, 39-minute lecture on Xmas, the date, which we told you was incorrect, and the Xmas tree, which is an Asherah cult. They used to worship the tree. Nothing to do with Christians. They just brought it into their religion to get the people who worship that in the Near East, which is Turkey, to get them into their religion. And Xmas, what is Santa Claus and St. Nicholas, has nothing to do with them. The Christians absorbed it eventually. And 25th of December, nowhere in the New Testament does it say that, a year or the day. And the very serious theologians, not one of them ever said that he was born on 25th. We told you the 3 dates that he was born in. The 28th of March, or the 18th of November, or September 3rd. No one ever said 25th. That's a mistake by the monks way back. Okay, Rabbi says, Zayk is unten stark, and be good, and have a good week.